7-year-old Esther Briggs stumbled through frozen slush at 4:32 p.m. on a bitter February afternoon. Her small knees scraped against icy pavement, leaving red streaks across the snow-dusted ground. Behind her, designer heels clicked with deadly precision. Her stepmother Veronica's voice sliced through the winter air like a razor. "You think you can humiliate me in front of the Richardsons, you worthless little brat?" A custom Harley's engine roared outside the Silver Pine Country Club. The Shadowridge Pack MC was heading back from a memorial run for a fallen brother. Then the Alpha's headlights caught something that would change everything. A child's trembling hand reaching up from the slush, fingers blue from cold, knees bleeding, eyes begging for someone, anyone, to make it stop. If you want to see what this Alpha did next, and trust me, it's going to leave you speechless, hit that subscribe button right now. My crew bet me I couldn't reach 1,000 subscribers in 10 days. They said stories like this don't matter anymore, that nobody cares. Prove them dead wrong. Drop a comment telling me which pack territory you're watching from. Let's show them how far the truth can travel when good people decide to stand up. Trevor Butler killed his engine and swung off the Harley in one fluid motion. His wolf surged forward instantly, pushing against his skin with a growl that never made it past his throat. Something was wrong here. Something that made every instinct he'd honed over 15 years as Alpha scream danger. The woman in the emerald dress straightened, her grip still locked on the child's arm. Up close, Trevor could see the contrast. Perfectly styled blonde curls, designer clothes that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, and a smile that never reached her eyes. The little girl was trembling, her pink sweater torn at the shoulder, dark hair plastered to her face with melted snow. But it was the scent that hit Trevor like a freight train. Fear, sharp and acrid, pain, old and deep. And underneath it all, something that made his wolf go absolutely still. Alpha bloodlines. In a child this young, that was almost unheard of. "Can I help you?" The woman's voice dripped with false warmth, the kind Trevor had heard 1,000 times from people who smiled while they lied. "You can start by letting go of her." Trevor kept his voice level, but he let just enough command bleed through. The kind of authority that made even humans instinctively obey. "I'm sorry. Who exactly are you?" She shifted, positioning herself between Trevor and the child. Protective? No. Possessive. "This is my stepdaughter, Esther. She had an episode inside, and I'm simply taking her home." Episode. Trevor's eyes dropped to the little girl. She was staring at him with wide, desperate eyes. Eyes that had seen too much, hurt too long. "That what we're calling it? Esther has behavioral issues, tantrums, outbursts, making up stories for attention?" The woman's smile tightened. "Her therapist says it's quite common in children who've experienced loss. Her mother passed 2 years ago, you see." Behind Trevor, another engine quieted. Maya Rodriguez dismounted, medical bag already in hand. The pack doctor read situations faster than anyone Trevor knew. One look at his stance and she was moving. "Ma'am, I'm a nurse practitioner," Maya said, her voice professional but firm. "That child is injured. I need to assess her." "That's completely unnecessary. She fell during her tantrum, nothing more." The woman, Veronica, her name tag from the country club said, pulled Esther closer. The little girl whimpered, and Trevor's wolf snarled. Let her check. It wasn't a request. Trevor took a step forward, and something in his eyes must have shown, because Veronica's mask slipped. Just for a second he saw calculation behind those cold eyes. Then fear. She released Esther's arm. Maya knelt immediately, hands gentle as she examined the child. Trevor watched her face go from concerned to furious in the space of 10 seconds. She lifted Esther's sleeve carefully, cigarette burns, circular and deliberate, old bruises in the shape of adult fingers. And when she checked the other arm, fresh puncture marks that had nothing to do with standard medical care. Wolfsbane, Maya mouthed silently to Trevor, in her system. Trevor's vision went red at the edges. Wolfsbane in a child with dormant alpha genes didn't happen by accident. Someone was suppressing her wolf. Someone was hurting her deliberately, systematically. "I'm calling my husband," Veronica snapped, phone already out. "Marcus Briggs. Perhaps you've heard of him? His lawyers will have a field day with this harassment. Call whoever you want." Trevor crouched down, putting himself at Esther's eye level. "Sweetheart, my name is Trevor. I'm an alpha of the Shadowridge Pack. Do you know what that means?" Esther nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. Mama said alphas protect the pack." "That's right. And right now, you need protecting." Trevor looked up at Veronica, his eyes flashing gold for just a moment. Under pack law, any child showing wolf heritage found in distress can be taken into protective custody pending investigation. "I'm invoking that right now." "You can't. You have no authority." "I have every authority." Trevor stood, lifting Esther carefully into his arms. She wrapped her small hands around his neck and buried her face in his leather vest. "Maya, document everything. Photographs, blood work, the works. Already on it. This is kidnapping." Veronica's voice rose, drawing attention from country club patrons emerging from the building. "I'll have you arrested." "Try it." Trevor walked toward his bike, Esther held securely against his chest. "Tell Marcus Briggs the Shadowridge Pack has his daughter. Tell him if he wants her back, he can come explain to the council why she's covered in burns and reeks of wolfsbane." He settled onto the Harley, adjusting Esther in front of him. Maya mounted her own bike, already making calls. The 20-minute ride to the clubhouse passed in silence, except for the rumble of engines and the wind. Inside the fortified compound, surrounded by pack brothers who died before they let harm reach her, Esther finally spoke. Her voice was so quiet, Trevor almost missed it over the noise of the common room. "The medicine," she whispered, her small fingers clutching his vest. "The medicine she gives me. It hurts so much." She looked up at him with eyes too old for her face. "It makes the wolf go away. I can feel her dying inside me." Trevor's jaw clenched so hard he heard his teeth grind, but his voice stayed gentle. "Not anymore, little one." "Not anymore." Maya emerged from the medical bay 3 hours later, her face carved from stone. Trevor looked up from where he sat outside the door, his coffee gone cold in his hand. He'd been listening to Esther's heartbeat through the walls, tracking each frightened spike whenever Maya had to draw blood or check another injury. "Tell me." He stood, bracing himself. "Her blood work is—" Maya pulled up results on her tablet, her hands shaking slightly. "Trevor, she has dormant alpha genes. Not just any alpha genetics. We're talking pure bloodline. Maybe 1 in 10,000 wolves carry markers this strong." "How is that possible?" "I ran her DNA through the pack registry database." Maya's voice dropped. Her mother was Rebecca Silvermoon, the Silvermoon Pack, Trevor. They're one of the oldest alpha bloodlines in North America. I thought that line died out. Trevor's wolf went very still. The Silvermoon Pack had been legendary. Their alphas could shift at will, command entire territories, lived twice as long as normal wolves. They'd vanished 20 years ago, after some kind of internal war. Nobody talked about what really happened. "Rebecca married Marcus Briggs 2 years before Esther was born," Maya continued. "Died in a single-vehicle accident when Esther was 5. But here's what's worse. The synthetic wolfsbane in Esther's system isn't street-level poison. It's pharmaceutical grade, custom-engineered. She pulled up another screen. I had Jax run Marcus Briggs through our database while I worked. Want to guess what he owns? Tell me. Crescent Pharmaceutical. Billion-dollar company specializing in behavioral modification drugs for children. ADHD medications, mood stabilizers, that kind of thing. Maya's jaw clenched. Except Jax found something buried in their research division, Project Moonbane. Trevor felt his blood turn to ice. Moonbane. A drug designed to suppress werewolf genes in children. They've been testing it for 3 years across 3 states. 47 test subjects that we can confirm. Maya looked up at him, and Trevor saw something he'd never seen in his pack doctor's eyes before. Fear. The trial data shows permanent damage, kids who can't shift anymore, chronic pain, accelerated aging. One subject, 14-year-old boy in Montana, committed suicide 6 months ago. Jesus Christ. His family was paid off. College fund, house, new cars, all signed with NDAs. Maya's tablet chimed. Jax is sending more. Marcus has been perfecting this for years, Trevor. Using his own stepdaughter as a test subject, the door to Trevor's office burst open. Jax, his tech specialist, looked like he'd been running. We've got problems, big ones. Marcus just hired Sullivan and Reich. They're the firm that got Senator Morrison off those corruption charges last year. And Veronica's doing an interview with Channel 7 right now. Trevor pulled up the live feed on the common room TV. Veronica sat in her country club finery, dabbing at perfectly dry eyes, while the reporter nodded sympathetically. Esther is a troubled child, Veronica said, her voice trembling with false emotion. Since her mother's death, she's had severe behavioral issues. Violent outbursts, pathological lying, self-harm. We've tried everything: therapy, medication, specialized schools. Today she ran away during one of her episodes. We're just grateful she wasn't seriously hurt. And these allegations of abuse? Completely fabricated. Veronica's voice hardened. Esther has been coached by these motorcycle club members to make false accusations. They have no legal authority to take her? What they've done is kidnapping, pure and simple. Trevor muted the TV before he put his fist through it. When's the custody hearing? 48 hours, Jax said quietly. Judge Morrison presiding. Marcus is pushing hard and fast. Morrison, Maya's face went pale. Trevor, that's not just any judge. That's Counsel Elder Gideon Thorne's cousin. They grew up together. If Marcus has connections to Gideon, then we're fighting the most powerful wolf in North America. Trevor paced, his mind racing. Gideon Thorne sat on the High Council, controlled pack law across 6 states, had more political power than some senators. If Marcus had bought him somehow, a scream split the air. Esther. Trevor was moving before he thought, bursting into the room where they'd set up a bed for her. She thrashed in her sleep, small hands clawing at invisible restraints. No, please, not the White Room. Please, I'll be good. I'll be quiet. Esther. Trevor caught her gently, pulling her against his chest. You're safe. You're in the clubhouse. Nobody's hurting you. She woke with a gasp, eyes wild until they focused on his face. Then she started crying, real, broken sobs that shook her whole body. The White Room, she whispered when she could speak. Every week, Veronica takes me to the White Room. Daddy's there with the doctors. They strap me down and give me shots. So many shots. And it burns like fire in my blood. And the wolf screams and screams until she's too weak to make noise anymore. Trevor held her while she cried, his wolf howling for vengeance. 47 children, 3 states, a billionaire with enough money to buy judges and council elders. A dead mother, from the most powerful alpha bloodline in history. And 48 hours until Marcus Briggs walked into a courtroom and tried to take Esther back to that white room. "Not happening," Trevor murmured against her hair. "Whatever it takes, little one. You're Pack now, and Pack protects Pack." Even if it meant going to war with the council itself. The council chamber in downtown Portland had never felt this tense. Trevor stood at the front with Maya and Jax flanking him, aware of every eye in the room. 5 regional alphas sat in the gallery. Some allies, some neutral, one definitely bought. The council elders occupied the raised platform, Elder Gideon Thorne dead center, his expression carved from ice. Marcus Briggs sat with 3 lawyers from Sullivan and Reich, his $1,000 suit immaculate. His face, the picture of concerned fatherhood. Veronica was beside him, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Alpha Chen of the Cascadia Pack had called this emergency hearing, using political favors Trevor didn't even know he had. Now Trevor had one shot to make this stick. Project Moonbane. Trevor laid the files on the evidence table. A synthetic wolfsbane compound designed to suppress werewolf genes in children. 47. Documented test subjects across 3 states. My Pack doctor found dangerous levels of this poison in 7-year-old Esther Briggs's bloodstream. He pulled up the medical scans on the chamber's screens. These are her lab results. These are testimony records from families whose children suffered permanent damage. And this, he held up a drive, contains hacked files from Crescent Pharmaceutical detailing every experiment, every payment, every NDA signed to keep parents quiet. Marcus's lead attorney, a silver-haired wolf named Hutchins, stood smoothly. Elder Gideon, this is a clear violation of privacy laws and corporate espionage. Any evidence obtained through illegal hacking should be dismissed immediately. The evidence shows children being tortured, Trevor growled. The evidence shows, Hutchins continued unruffled, legitimate medical research into ADHD and behavioral disorders in children with supernatural heritage. All treatments were voluntary. All parents provided informed consent. Mr. Briggs's company is at the forefront of helping troubled children integrate into both human and Pack society. Voluntary? Maya shot to her feet. One of your test subjects committed suicide. A 14-year-old boy who could no longer shift, who lived in constant pain. A tragedy, certainly, Hutchins interrupted. But the young man had pre-existing mental health issues unrelated to the trial. His family was compensated for their loss. Trevor's wolf snarled at the word compensated. Like you could put a price on a child's life. 3 parents were called to testify. Trevor watched them take the stand one by one, saw how their stories shifted under Hutchins's questioning. Yes, their children had some side effects, but the treatments helped with aggression. Yes, there was pain, but nothing permanent. Yes, they'd signed consent forms. They knew what they were agreeing to. The 3rd parent, a woman from Idaho, started strong. My son can't shift anymore. He's 12 years old and his wolf is just gone. Then Hutchins showed her something, a document, a photograph. Trevor couldn't see, and her voice changed. But we knew the risks. We accepted them. She wouldn't meet Trevor's eyes as she left the stand. Then Veronica took the oath. She was perfect. Grief-stricken stepmother trying desperately to help a damaged child. Esther has been self-harming since her mother's death. The treatments were recommended by 3 separate therapists. We've tried everything, traditional therapy, medication, specialized schools, nothing worked. And these allegations of abuse? Elder Gideon asked, his tone making it clear whose side he was on. Heartbreaking fabrications, Veronica whispered. She's been coached by these motorcycle club members who have some vendetta against my husband's success. The bruises are from her episodes. The burns are self-inflicted. We have medical documentation of her behavioral issues. Trevor stood. Call Esther Briggs to testify. The chamber went silent. Hutchins objected immediately. She's 7 years old, clearly traumatized, vulnerable to suggestion. She has a right to speak, Alpha Chen interjected. Unless the council fears what a child might say. Gideon's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Esther walked in holding Maya's hand, small and terrified in a borrowed dress. Trevor moved to stand beside her, one hand on her shoulder. Protection, strength. Esther, Alpha Chen said gently, can you tell us about the medicine? Her voice was barely audible. Every week. Veronica drives me to Daddy's building. There's a white room in the basement. They strap me down because I try to run. The shots burn. They burn so much I can't breathe. And the wolf, my mama's wolf inside me, she screams and screams until she's too quiet. Your mother's wolf? Chen leaned forward. Mama said I had her wolf. She said one day I'd be strong like her. But then she got scared. She found papers in Daddy's office. She told me we had to leave. Esther's hands twisted together. Then Mama died. And Daddy married Veronica. And the White Room started. This is unconscionable, Hutchins stood. Using a disturbed child's fantasies? Let her finish, Trevor's voice cut like a blade. But Gideon was already standing. I've heard enough. This hearing is built on illegally obtained evidence, coached testimony, and the delusions of a traumatized child. There is insufficient cause to violate parental rights. His gaze locked on Trevor. Custody returns to Marcus Briggs in 24 hours. Elder Gideon, Alpha Chen started. My ruling is final. The chamber erupted. Trevor felt his world tilting sideways. 24 hours. Then Esther went back to the White Room, back to the poison, back to the woman who was killing her wolf piece by piece. Outside, Gideon cornered Trevor in the parking garage. Drop this, Alpha Butler. Marcus Briggs is a valued friend of the council. His research is important. You're making yourself an enemy you can't afford. Trevor's eyes flashed gold. Is that a threat, Elder? It's a warning. Continue this crusade and your pack loses council protection. Every wolf in your territory becomes vulnerable. Ask yourself if one child is worth that. He walked away, leaving Trevor standing in the cold concrete shadows. That night, Dante went to meet a witness, a lab technician from Crescent who'd agreed to talk. Trevor told him to be careful. Dante laughed, said he'd been in worse situations in Fallujah. Maya found him 3 hours later in an alley behind a dive bar. Throat torn out, signs of a fight, empty bottles staged around the body to look like a drunken brawl gone wrong. But Trevor saw the claw marks, smelled the execution in it, his beta, his best friend. The wolf who'd stood beside him through 3 deployments and 15 years of pack leadership. Dead because they'd tried to save one little girl from monsters wearing human faces. Trevor knelt in his brother's blood and made a promise. This wasn't over. Not even close. If the council wanted war, he'd give them one they'd never forget. Trevor stood in the clubhouse common room at 2 a.m., surrounded by 30 wolves who'd sworn to follow him into hell if necessary. Dante's body lay in the pack's sacred chamber, awaiting the funeral rites. 24 hours until Esther went back to Marcus. And Elder Gideon had made it clear the council wouldn't lift a finger to help. We go rogue. We lose everything, Maya said quietly. Council protection, territory rights, pack status. We become outlaws. Then we become outlaws. Trevor's voice was granite. We hit Crescent Pharmaceutical tonight. Get evidence they can't ignore or bury. Real evidence. Alpha Chen stepped forward. My pack stands with you. Gideon's been dirty for years. Someone just needed to prove it. They mobilized at 3 a.m. Trevor led 15 wolves to the Crescent Research Facility outside Salem. Jax disabled the security systems in 4 minutes flat. The human guards never saw them coming. The laboratory was in the basement. Trevor's wolf recoiled at the scent. Fear, pain, wolfsbane thick enough to choke on. Files covered every surface. Video equipment lined the walls. And in the center, examination tables with restraints sized for children. Jesus Christ, Maya breathed, pulling up files on the main computer. All 47 subjects. Names, ages, dosage records, side effects documented in clinical detail. They knew it was causing permanent damage, and they kept going. Trevor found the videos, clicked on one at random. A 10-year-old boy strapped to a table, screaming as they injected him with something that made his veins turn black. The audio captured his mother begging them to stop. A doctor's voice, cold and professional. Increase dosage to level 4. Document behavioral response. He made it through 3 videos before his wolf threatened to take over completely. Then Maya called out, voice shaking. Trevor, Project Moonbane wasn't about suppression. It was phase 1 of something bigger. She pulled up classified military contracts, correspondence with defense contractors. Marcus is developing controllable werewolves, soldiers who can shift on command, follow orders without question, no pack bonds to interfere with military objectives. Super soldiers, Jax whispered, pulling up more files. He's been pitching it to the Pentagon for 2 years. The kids are just test subjects to perfect the formula. And Rebecca Briggs found out. Maya had recovered dash cam footage from 2 years ago, pulled from Crescent's own servers. The video showed a car on a mountain road, another vehicle forcing it off the cliff. The driver, visible for just a moment before impact, was Veronica. She murdered Rebecca to keep her quiet, Trevor said, his voice hollow. Then married Marcus to control Esther. There's more. Jax's face had gone pale. Payment, records. Elder Gideon's been on Marcus's payroll for a decade. $5 million. And look at the contract terms. Gideon gets first access to any successful super soldier formula. The council's been planning to use it. Trevor's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. Alpha Butler. Marcus's voice was smooth, controlled. I believe you're currently trespassing on my property. We have everything, Briggs. Every file, every video, every payment you made to Gideon. Copies can be destroyed. Facilities can be raided and evidence lost. But werewolf existence can't be unexposed. Marcus paused. Bring me Esther in the next 6 hours, or I release proof of werewolves to every major news network in North America. Video, DNA evidence, live demonstrations. Your entire species becomes public knowledge. You'd destroy yourself. I'd survive. The wealthy always do. But your people? They'd be hunted, captured, studied. Military experiments on every pack in the country. His voice hardened. 6 hours, Alpha Butler. The girl for your species' survival. The line went dead. Before Trevor could respond, his phone exploded with alerts. The safe house. Under attack. They made it back in 15 minutes. The safe house was a war zone. 4 mercenaries dead, 2 wolves down, smoke and blood everywhere. Trevor found Esther huddled in the panic room with 3 pack members forming a wall around her. Alive. Terrified, but alive. Maya was treating a massive chest wound on one of his wolves. Mix of human mercs and rogue wolves. Professional hit squad. Jax, Trevor barked. Upload everything, every file we copied, every video, every payment record. Send it to every Alpha and Council member in North America. Now. On it, Jax's fingers flew across his laptop. Secure servers, multiple redundancies. They can't delete this. Trevor's phone rang again. Marcus. That was a warning, Alpha. Next time, everyone dies. Next time, you'll be the one bleeding. Trevor ended the call and pulled up the files Jax was organizing. One caught his eye. Rebecca Briggs's genetic analysis from when Marcus first started researching her bloodline. Maya read over his shoulder. Her sharp intake of breath said everything. True-born, she whispered. Esther isn't just alpha bloodline. She's true-born, able to shift at will once she reaches maturity, extended lifespan, command voice that can control entire packs. There hasn't been a true-born in 3 generations. Trevor looked at the final document in Rebecca's file. Her handwritten notes, discovered after her death. Marcus knows what Esther is. He's going to extract her DNA and kill her once the formula is perfected. I have to get her out. If you're reading this and I'm dead, it means I failed. Please, please protect my daughter. They're not trying to suppress her wolf, Trevor said slowly. They're trying to harvest it, create an army of artificial trueborns who'll follow orders. In the panic room, Esther looked up at him with eyes too old for 7 years. Eyes that already knew what she was, what they wanted from her, what being valuable meant in a world run by monsters. We don't have 6 hours, Maya said. We have until they regroup and hit us with everything they've got. Trevor looked at his pack, wounded, exhausted, facing impossible odds. Then at Esther. This little girl who should have been worried about 2nd grade and playground games. Instead, she carried the weight of an entire species' future in her DNA. Then we end this tonight, Trevor said. We take the fight to them. The Grand Council convened at dawn in neutral territory, a massive lodge in the Cascade Mountains that had hosted treaty negotiations for 2 centuries. Every regional alpha from the continental United States sat in the gallery. The council elders occupied their platform, Gideon Thorne conspicuously absent from his usual seat. And filling every remaining space were families, 47 sets of parents whose children had been poisoned, damaged, destroyed by Marcus Briggs's experiments. Marcus arrived with 6 lawyers and a dozen private security personnel. He wore confidence like armor, still believing Gideon's protection would shield him. Veronica walked beside him in designer black, playing the grieving stepmother to perfection. Trevor entered with his pack, Esther's small hand gripped tight in his. Behind them came Maya, with medical files, Jax with servers full of evidence, and Alpha Chen with 3 other regional leaders who decided the council's corruption ended today. The chamber doors hadn't even closed before Alpha Morrison, of the Great Lakes Pack, stood. Before we begin, I move that Elder Gideon Thorne be removed from these proceedings pending investigation into financial ties with Marcus Briggs. Seconded, called Alpha Reeves from Texas. Gideon tried to object, but 12 alphas were already on their feet demanding his removal. The other elders, seeing which way the wind blew, voted unanimously. Gideon was escorted out by council guards, his face purple with rage. Marcus's lead attorney stood. This is a witch hunt based on stolen files? Stolen! Maya interrupted, projecting medical scans onto the chamber screens. These are X-rays of children with permanent skeletal damage from moonbane injections. This is brain imaging showing neurological deterioration. This is a 14-year-old boy's autopsy report, listing cause of death as complications from experimental gene therapy. The chamber went silent as image after image filled the screens. Children strapped to tables, injection marks, Before and after photos showing vibrant young wolves transformed into hollow-eyed shadows. All voluntary research, Marcus's attorney tried. Parents provided informed consent. I never consented to this. A woman stood in the gallery, shaking. My son can't shift anymore. He's 12 years old and he screams every time the moon rises because his wolf is trapped inside him, clawing to get out. They told me it was ADHD medication. My daughter, another parent called out, 7 years old. She has seizures now, 3, 4 times a week. The doctors say it's permanent damage to her nervous system. More parents stood, more testimony. The attorneys tried to object, but the alphas overruled them. These were pack members. They had the right to speak. Then they played the dash cam footage. Rebecca Briggs's car on a mountain road 2 years ago. Another vehicle forcing her off the cliff. Veronica's face visible through the window for 3 crucial seconds before impact. That's not... Veronica's mask cracked. It was an accident. She lost control. You murdered her, Maya said coldly, because she discovered what Marcus was doing to Esther. She was going to ruin everything. Veronica's composure shattered completely. Rebecca was going to take the girl and run. 10 years of research, billions in military contracts, all destroyed because some weak woman couldn't handle what needed to be done. I did what was necessary. The chamber erupted. Marcus grabbed Veronica's arm, trying to silence her, but it was too late. She'd confessed to murder in front of 50 alphas and a dozen council elders. That's when the doors exploded inward. Marcus's mercenaries stormed the chamber, 20 armed humans and rogues, weapons drawn. Trevor shoved Esther behind him as chaos erupted. His pack met the attackers head-on, wolves and security personnel clashing in brutal close combat. In the confusion, Veronica lunged for Esther. "You're coming with me, you little brat!" Esther's scream cut off abruptly. Her eyes flashed pure gold. Claws erupted from her small fingers. Her bones shifted, popped, reformed. At 7 years old, years before first shift should be possible, Esther's wolf surged forward in a partial transformation born of pure terror and rage. She raked claws across Veronica's face. The woman stumbled back, shrieking. Blood poured from 4 deep gouges. The fighting stopped. Everyone stared at this 7-year-old girl standing in a half-shift, breathing hard, her eyes still glowing with alpha power. The drugs didn't work, Maya breathed. Her wolf was fighting the suppression. He's been torturing her for nothing. Trevor lifted Esther onto the witness stand, keeping himself between her and Marcus. "Tell them," he said softly. "Tell them everything." Esther's voice came out carrying command, the alpha voice that made even the oldest elders straighten in their seats. "My mama said I had her wolf, a special wolf. Daddy found out, and he wanted to take it. Every week in the White Room, they put needles in me. It burned. It hurt so much. But the wolf wouldn't leave. She stayed with me. She fought for me." Her small hand gripped Trevor's. "And now, she's strong enough to fight back." Gideon burst back into the chamber, trying to escape through a side door. 3 alphas, whose children had been test subjects, caught him. He went down hard, screaming about council immunity, but nobody was listening. Marcus pulled a gun. Every wolf in the chamber froze. Firearms violated every pack law, every sacred rule. Marcus aimed directly at Esther. "This ends now," Marcus snarled. "I'll kill her before I let you take years of research." Trevor moved. The bullet meant for Esther caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. But his pack was already swarming Marcus, disarming him, taking him down with the controlled violence of wolves who'd finally been unleashed. Maya was at Trevor's side immediately, hands pressed to the wound. "You stubborn idiot! Is she safe? Trevor's vision blurred. She's safe. The verdict came swift and unanimous. Marcus Briggs and Veronica Harris sentenced to permanent exile with suppression collars. The same torture they'd inflicted turned back on them. Elder Gideon stripped of his title, facing trial for corruption and accessory to murder. And all 47 children placed in protective pack families for healing. 6 months passed. Trevor's shoulder healed. Esther began proper shift training, learning to control the power she'd unlocked. Pack reforms swept across North America, transparency requirements, financial audits, child protection protocols. A new council was elected with strict oversight. And on a sunny afternoon in August, Trevor stood in a small courthouse with Esther beside him, wearing her first pack pendant, a silver wolf that marked her as Shadowridge. Do you, Trevor Butler, accept the responsibilities and joys of becoming this child's legal father? I do. And do you, Esther, accept Trevor as your father? She looked up at him with eyes that still held shadows, but now held hope too. I do. The judge smiled. Then, by the power vested in me and recognized by pack law, I declare this adoption complete. Esther hugged him tight and whispered one word that made everything, the bullets, the battles, the losses, worth it. Papa. 1 year later, Trevor's phone rang at midnight. Alpha Reeves from Montana. We've got a situation. 8-year-old boy, suspicious injuries family, connected to pharmaceutical research. I thought you'd want to know. Esther, now 8 and growing into her alpha strength, looked up from her homework. We're going to help them, right? Trevor grabbed his keys, his leather vest, saw his pack already assembling in the common room. Ready, always ready. Always, little Alpha, he smiled. Always. They rode out into the night, engines roaring, heading toward another child who needed someone to stand between them and the monsters. Because that's what Pack did. That's what family did. They protected the ones who couldn't protect themselves. And they never, ever stopped fighting. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. My crew said nobody cares about stories like this anymore. That standing up for the vulnerable doesn't matter in today's world. Prove them wrong. Drop a comment telling me which pack territory you're from. And share this with someone who needs to remember that heroes still exist. Because somewhere out there, another Esther is waiting for someone brave enough to stop. Let's make sure they find them. Subscribe now, and let's change lives together, one story at a time.